Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. It is the last episode of the regular season. It's going to be a big weekend. Let's get it. Hot in the streets. It is. Ooh, doggy. The boys are running hot. The last Talkin' Baseball episode of the regular season. I'm losing sleep because I'm watching left coast games. Because you got to. You got to. The atmospheres are unreal. Out in Seattle, my goodness. And just a heads up to everyone, we're running hot this morning. Trev, coming live from my Denver. I am soaking wet. Soaking wet. New York City is underwater. Like, check in on your loved ones. I had to take a subway to an Uber to my walking feet. The city's a disaster. Ask Marlins and Mets what's going on with that, and that might dictate some of the playoffs. Trevor, how are you?
Kim Ang was ready to fight somebody last night on that field. Her and Skip Schumacher versus the grounds crew might be the fight that saves the world. I'd tune in for that. I really would. I'm doing great. Denver is a beautiful, beautiful city, and I'm enjoying it so far. I got 3 games to call for the Twins. These really don't mean anything, so it's kind of like getting ready for the playoffs. We're going to be watching to see who the Twins end up getting in the first round, whether it's Houston, whether it's the Blue Jays, whether it's the Mariners. A lot of good things happening, man. I'm excited to talk ball with you. This is like the funnest part of the season. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of tight scenarios going on, and then the playoffs come, and man, I am excited. I am running hot today. It's going to be a good app.
It's going to be a good ep. It's not going to be a traditional ep. We're focusing on what matters, and it's some of the same stories, but it's actually like it's happening. Like the AL West that we've now talked about, since whenever Seattle got hot, kind of. Or even, going back before that, the Rangers announcing themselves in the season. The NL wild card is a mess.
Houston is not going to win the AL West, people. Think about that.
Yeah.
Like, we had Houston winning it pretty much the entire season. Texas has come on now. They've been a streaky team, and they got hot, and here they are. They're about to clinch the AL West, man. They're about to clinch a first-round bye. It's awesome.
That's the more interesting thing to me. This Texas Rangers team that, as of 2 weeks ago, I think people were like, oh, well, they've got a good chance to be the team to miss the postseason. It's now looking like they'll be the 2 seed in the American League. The NL wild card continues to be as messy as it gets, and the Northeast weather added to that. And it's just exciting, man. You're also getting some end-of-season achievements, like Garrett Cole, complete game shutout that looks like it locked up the Cy Young for him. That's pretty cool. Ronald Acuna, obviously, 40-70. Even Mickey Cabs with one more Oppo Taco homer. Trev, you're always saying you remember your first, but you remember your last, too, right?
Last official was against Kike Hernandez. Last unofficial, Mark Leiter Jr. spring training, Philadelphia at Dunedin. Yes, I remember everything about a 2-1 count. They asked me to be more aggressive in 2-1 count, so I did.
So he did, people. Let's get aggressive on this episode. My feet are soaking wet. God, New York City. Figure it out. Figure it out. And hey, when you're watching ball this weekend, have yourself a sports weekend. Throw on the baseball games that matter. Check out a little college football. Check out a little NFL. Block off the schedule and make sure you get the ppv.com fight. Canelo versus Charlo. Our guy Dan Canobio has been out there this week. Had a little Canelo interview go viral. Whoops. The Mexican superstar and pound-for-pound all-time great Canelo Alvarez puts all 4 super middleweight belts on the line against dangerous knockout sensation Jermell Charlo. It's undisputed versus undisputed. Saturday, September 30th, live on ppv.com. I mentioned Canobio, Inside Boxing Live. They've got you covered with all of this. Partnering with ppv.com to bring you exclusive interviews and content all week. There's no subscription required. You guys know it. PPV. You pay to play. Go watch this fight. There's nothing really like a big fight. So go order Canelo and Charlo on ppv.com right now. It's the best way to watch this fight. You do not want to miss out. Click the link in the description. You're a sneaky fight guy, Trev.
Why did old fighters used to go like this?
I think that's one of those.
That seems like a bad strategy.
No, when you see you see a video of pitchers doing like the old whirly bird windup, I think that's kind of boxing's version of that.
What were people thinking back in the day, Jake? That's my question to you. What were they thinking?
I think they were thinking you had a better angle at like punching their face if you were coming like that. I have no clue.
Quickest way to somewhere's a straight line.
I mean, those guys would beat me up. There's no doubt about it.
Well, that's not the question.
I don't know. Like you versus a 1920s boxer whose diet was like sardines and whiskey. Like I think you have a pretty good chance, man.
They were small too back in the day. Okay. You know what? Thanks, Jake.
You know what?
I'd like to see the side by side, but if you're same size in them.
And just a reminder, size doesn't matter, and girls don't care about height. Trev, let's talk some baseball. Again, a little unorthodox episode. I think, again, the highlight starts out for me, Seattle and Houston. In Seattle, the big bad wolf comes into town. We've talked about this a few times now. Justin Verlander, he drops 8 shut piece on him that first game because, of course, he does. That's all he does. Good on Seattle and George Kirby, and we talked about that a little bit. I mean, he's getting balls thrown at him by the fans. Every time George Kirby is pitched in a game that matters, he puts a 0 on the board. Climbing the ladder of, like, dudes you want pitching in a big game. And then it all comes down to Game 3, which truly dictates a lot of this because Houston needed this game more than Seattle because they lose almost every tiebreaker to Seattle and Toronto. And it's a sloppy game. Framber and Bryce Miller both get hit a little bit. Neither pitcher goes more than 4 innings. And the mighty Astros put together a rally, put a crooked number on the board. They end up winning that game 8-3. So in the wild card, Houston is your last wild card team. They are a game behind Toronto. Toronto has the tiebreaker over them. Seattle is a game behind Houston. Seattle has the tiebreaker over them. So basically what we have going on here, as Seattle plays Texas, by the way, and we'll get there. So if Seattle pulls out like a 4-game sweep of Texas, which, spoiler, they did win Game 1 last night, our guy J.P. Crawford, there's still room for a little bonus chaos, but you'd like to think Texas is going to win one and be locked. It's just a matter, is Houston going to win out? And if they don't do that, Seattle, I don't know, Trev. I think right before we hopped on the mics, we were like, Houston's still at a disadvantage, but they control their own destiny. And like Seattle almost can't lose a game. And if that's true and they sweep Texas, then I think they can still like win the West. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a chance that Texas can clinch the AL West tonight, which again is crazy to think about because, a couple of weeks ago, everyone was talking about the bullpen and how they have more blown saves than saves, and it was going to be a problem. It was going to be their demise. And I quickly reminded people that things can turn around in the bullpen rather quickly. Guys can get hot. You can just kind of get through their good stretches. It's the offense for me in Texas that will carry this team, and they've been showing up now, like I said, on the precipice of winning the AL West, getting that 2 seed in the AL, which means you get the bye. And then, yes, you got Seattle and Houston basically, fighting for the last spot. Toronto's there as well. They're a game up on Houston, so there's still some action there. But reminder, guys, we've got 3 games left. Like this is a crunch time here. Seattle, Houston, both been playing poorly, like leading up into the last series, but it doesn't matter. Like a walk-off win last night, Seattle was done. If they lose that game last night, the season is over. And they almost did. And here comes Chapman, gets in trouble in the last inning. I think he loaded the bases. There's nobody out. Bochy says, enough. You can't even throw a strike. They get 2 outs. And our guy, J.P. Crawford, comes up and just puts a beautiful swing on the ball to keep Seattle's season alive. I mean, the games are incredible right now. So, there's a couple really, really big series in the AL going on this weekend, but it's all eyes on it. And yes, you gave the tiebreaker disclaimer. Houston does not have the tiebreaker on either Toronto or Seattle because of the head-to-head record. There's no interdivision record going on there. That's just straight up head-to-head.
Trev, I want to unravel things even more because, the playoff odds, sometimes we somewhat joke during the year because it's, it is a computer algorithm that doesn't read necessarily what's going on with the teams or whatever. But here, with 3 games left, I think these statistics are pretty close. The Texas Rangers, 97.3% chance to make the playoffs. They need, I'll win, or I think they need, Houston to lose, and they're basically locked in. The Astros are at 76%, and Seattle is at 33%. And Trev, I didn't do this math yet because if you're listening to this show, you know my brain operates a little differently. Seattle has 3 more games left. Houston has 3 more games left. Seattle would need to win, 3 of 3 or 2 of 3. And that would mean Houston has to drop 1 game. But if Seattle's going to win that amount of games, they're almost coming for Texas. Tonight's game, Eovaldi versus my guy Brian Wu. Let's say Seattle wins tonight. Okay? That would have them 2 games back of Texas.
Yep.
And depending what Houston does. Then you have Luis Castillo on the bump. And then it would be George Kirby on Sunday. Seattle, in a way, is lined up.
This is where it gets a little interesting. Yeah, they have to sweep the Rangers, and then they would possibly have a chance to win the AL West. Yes. Although, do they have the tiebreaker?
No, but I think Texas has the tiebreaker over them because Texas has dominated them. So Texas
can't lose the West unless it's to Houston.
Yes.
Okay. This is what I'm talking about, guys. I people are mad at me because they're like, what does the tiebreakers even matter if none of it, no one's tied? I'm like, you're right. But I think someone will be tied at the end of the season. And I also, part of our job is to inform people on scenarios that could happen. And it's made it difficult. It's not a big deal. We're going to get through it though, people.
Because Trev, what would be the sneaky, most brutal thing to happen if Seattle sweeps Texas, backs against the wall, their pitching's lined up in Seattle, that place is going nuts, right? If Houston wins out, they would still win the West, and then Seattle would miss the dance, pending what Toronto does. But
yes.
that's if everyone wins out. And Houston, by the way, does not have it easy. They are facing the Snakes, who they have a 1-game magic number. So they just need to win a game, or they need one of the NL teams to lose a game. But they have Gallen and Kelly lined up these first 2 games, and they're going to throw them because that still lines them up for the wild card series. So Houston is up against it in Arizona. I don't know, man. It feels like the AL West is going to come down to 1 or 2 swings, and then another team, their season, instead of playing for the World Series, is going to be like, wait, we're one of the best teams in baseball, and we're not going to the playoffs?
We haven't even got to the NL yet. I think we'll stay on the AL just a little bit longer. I think for Seattle, if they do push Texas and Houston to the last day, and they do, go Castillo, Kirby, Saturday, Sunday, you have the off day, then you don't have them for the first 2 games of your wild card round, which, might make it better for your divisional round. There's so many things. I love it, dude. I love thinking about all the scenarios and kind of what's going to happen. But essentially, we just got to watch ball this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. The most likely scenario is, Texas wins a game and they're AL West champs, which to me is still crazy to think about because Houston was up in that division for how long? Like almost all year.
Well,
am I crazy about that?
It was Texas. It felt like it was Texas the first 2/3 of the season. Then they fell apart. Seattle got crazy hot, and it felt like they were there for 3 days.
Oh, you're totally right. I'm looking right now.
And then Houston got it, and we all kind of shrugged and were like,
with
hasn't felt like
3 weeks left, Houston just has it right now.
Never felt like they even got hot, and they were on top of the West.
You're totally right. They got into first place, or tied for first, August 29th. And then they've either been like one game back, tied this whole month until the Friday, September 22nd. So I'm totally wrong there. For some reason, I thought Houston was in charge of that division, but they have not been.
Can I ask you, I know you talked about it on Baseball Today with Chris Rose, the Neris Julio situation. I think a lot of baseball fans probably saw this, in a big series, that Seattle-Houston series, that it was essentially playoff baseball. And if Seattle wins that last game instead of Houston, I think their playoff odds are flipped right now. Difference between 75% and 33% math. Neris punches out Julio. Julio had a couple big at-bats with runners on base. Neris gets him with his gross little split change pitch he throws. And then he, kind of runs up to him a little bit, strikeout energy, a little... A couple Dominican guys. Neris has now come out with a statement. Me and Julio go back to 2020, and that's when we became friends, and blah, blah, blah. I guess, a couple days removed now. Have any of your feelings changed, or are you kind of still in the same boat?
Probably in the same boat. I said from the get-go, I thought it was silly what Hector did. I mean, I get it, man. These are pressure-packed games, and you have to have the emotion, and you got to be able to wield it the right way. And I think it just got away from Hector a little bit there. He was very fired up and he started going at him. I think it was kind of like raw emotion. He wasn't planning on doing that. But you just can't do that. It is disrespectful, man. It doesn't matter how much time Hector has and how much time Julio has. I mean, obviously Julio is one of the faces of the game. He's got a bag, so you got to put some respect on his name. But it doesn't matter who's at the plate. You don't do that. And I think Hector releasing a statement saying like he's embarrassed and he's, apologizes to Julio. I think, obviously that's the right thing to do. Julio afterwards came out and said, I'll never talk to him again, which is interesting. But time heals all wounds. I think you guys will be okay. You might shake hands in the off season or something like that. They do share an agent, and they're obviously familiar with each other. So I thought the situation just it looked bad for Hector, especially because when Julio kind of like turned around, classic baseball brawl, the guy starts going the other way, and it's like, you never really wanted to fight anybody. I don't really know what you were doing there. So the other aspect of it, and we'll get into it because it's part of the stories. Eugenio Suarez said that he used some derogatory language, like a homophobic slur. Hector's denied that, and our Joe's McFly has been all over it trying to lip read. And I think I've seen a couple different people now on X talking about what Hector said, and both said like hit it, you can't hit it, like I win or something like that. So I'm hoping there wasn't anything like that. Because you never want to use that type of language, especially, in front of thousands of people watching the game. It's just, you just don't do that. I don't condone that behavior whatsoever. And if Major League Baseball does find that he did use a derogatory slur, a homophobic slur, he's going to get suspended, and he should get suspended. I mean, Kevin Pillar is an example of that. That happened. I think Yuli Gurriel had it on his eye black, got suspended for that. Like, it's just, I don't know. Hector's denied it. I need to make sure I said it. He's denied that he said anything like that. So we'll just kind of let the investigation play out. But it was silly, man. There was no reason to do it. I'll accept the raw emotion aspect of it, but if you do something, you got to own up to it. And I think Hector did.
Trev, this, Talking Baseball's been at it 3 or 4 years now. John Boy Media, 5 or 6 years. I've seen some of our people go on heaters. Like, I've been on an internet heater. I've seen you on an internet heater. I mean, the original Braves prediction. I've seen BBD go on heaters. Joe's McFly, 3 months where people are drinking in Joe's McFly. Chris Rose is in the middle of 57-game hit streak type heater. He's calling games for his Cleveland Browns, which is literally his childhood dream. Like, that's basically 1-1 for Chris Rose. Tito retires, and Chris Rose, he's obviously all over that. Loves Cleveland sports, loves Tito. He's killing it there. He's calling out the ejection on Jake Berger online, saying we can't do this in playoff baseball. Going viral on the Neris. I mean, Chris Rose with a 5,000 liker. Hello.
What tweet got that?
He retweets the Hector Neris video, and he says, if you're going to go that direction, Hector, don't stop on the front porch, walk in the house, and put your feet on the table. And then he's just running hot right now. And this is even before floorball, where I think this is obviously closer to our world, but people are going to see a Chris Rose in floorball that's just like unstoppable. The guy is undefeated. That comes out mid-October. Even late night Chris Rose, 1:39 a.m., I guess that's Eastern time. He says, Ryder Cup starting. At least the Mets ground crew and MLB can't screw this up. He's hot. It's third quarter Clay.
Oh boy.
All his worlds are coming together right now.
It's running hot.
Perfect time of year for Chris Rose.
It is. End of September is great for him. And yes, he's very opinionated. And I love that about him.
He is.
Do we go NL now and talk about what we got going on there? Because that's a earmuffs, people. That's a clusterfuck in itself.
I think we do, and that's brought to you by Scott's. You guys know Scott's. I mean, it's the Scott's. Look at the green and white logo. You look at that, and you think the best lawn in the neighborhood. And Scott's, have you heard of their lawn stream yet? They've got a 24/7.
What?
Yeah. They're leaning into it. It's 2023. They've got a 24/7-hour live stream going on of a backyard. They're doing fun events, goat yoga. Jimmy, the John Boy, he called a wiffle ball game. He was the play-by-play on it. All of this is at the Scott's YouTube channel. They built a bird mansion. They have so much going on. Scott's is all in. They're pushing their chips on the table. Make sure you go follow them on Instagram and watch all their live events at lawnstream.scotts.com and all the good stuff. What Scotts is known for. If you get 2 or more Scotts products at scotts.com, you'll get 20% off with code JOHNBOY. They're going to be a big part of our Blitzball Blitz this weekend, which we're excited for that. And you guys know Scotts, and we've got the hookup for you. 20% off 2 or more Scotts products at scotts.com when you use code JOHNBOY. Trev, you mentioned your National League cluster. For those that don't know, Philly, they're good. And actually, we should probably lay this out, just closing off the AL. Right now, the 1 seed is done. Your Baltimore Orioles, 100-win season. I mean, awesome.
Unbelievable. All the videos of them celebrating, Gibby getting freaking doused. Oh, my goodness.
Start to finish, I think they've been the best team in the American League. And I think people thought, we could maybe like this Orioles team and they'd be fun and maybe they'd sneak into this expanded wild card. They've been the best team in the AL all year. Birds, we're going to taste you more.
Except for the undefeated April of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Baltimore, we're going to taste you upcoming on our Monday Well, actually, probably not our wild card preview because you're not going to be there, and that's a good thing.
No.
That's a good thing.
Thursday or something.
Yeah, we'll see you then. The Tampa Bay Rays are locked into the 4 seed, so they will be hosting in the playoffs whoever falls into that 5, whether it's one of the West teams or Toronto or someone else.
Twins are locked into 3.
Twins are locked into 3, so they will be hosting one of the West teams or Toronto as well. In the National League, my goodness. Atlanta is locked. How's your 103 with a weekend to play? They will have home field the entirety of the playoffs. I think Matt Olson just hit 54, and Ronald Acuna Jr. just did something that's never happened on these fields. So they're ready. The Dodgers are locked in the 2. The Brewers are locked in the 3. So Braves, Dodgers, we'll see you guys in a little under a week. Brewers will be hosting a playoff series, and so will the Philadelphia Phillies as they are locked into that 4 spot. Who they will be playing right now, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Of my 2 baseball teams, who had the Snakes in the dance this year and not the Yankees? Snakes right now are 1.5 games above Miami. They would be going to Philly. Right now, the last wild card spot is the Miami Marlins, who they're dealing with weather chaos, and we might still get like a fake 163, Trev.
Yes.
The Cubbies are a half game out, losers of 3 in a row at the wrong time. The Reds, 1.5 out with an outside chance. And boy, oh boy, wherever the Padres land is going to seem so ridiculous because they're technically 3.5 out. I think they need, with a loss for them or a win by any other team, it's over. And last night they survived one of those rounds. So, Trev, where do you want to go? I think it's the Cubs because I think they've put themselves in the worst position.
Yeah, they just haven't played good baseball at all. We've seen some errors from them. Everyone saw the Seiya Suzuki error that kind of cost them the game. The following day, was the Ronald Acuna Jr. stop 5-minute montage and then the top of bottom of the 10th, or bottom of the 11th. It's been a rough go for them, man. And this is a team I think that everybody's really rooting for the Cubs. Like, I know I am. They decided not to sell at the deadline. They have a fun group of guys on that team. Obviously, we're close to Ian Happ, but other than that, besides him, it's a fun group of baseball players to watch. And uncharacteristically defensively, they were pretty poor against the Braves in that series. I believe they made 4 errors and it cost them a bunch of runs. And right now, they're on the outside looking in. They have the tiebreaker against nobody. So that means they have to go out and overperform and hope some other teams, lose some games. But it'd be a shame, man. It'd be a shame if they end up, tied or, a game out and they're looking in because they went for it and they've done it kind of the right way. And I don't really know what that means, but I just really enjoy watching them. And I want to see them have a chance in the postseason. But guess what? That's just not how it works, man. Even with the expanded playoffs, somebody's going to be left out. And right now, it looks like it's going to be them, and it's going to be the Reds. And, Arizona and Miami as your last 2 wildcard teams. I don't think a lot of people had that in their preseason predictions, Jake. You know who did, though? And I got this up right now. I took a screenshot. I went back into my text.
Whoa.
This is before the year. I'm talking to a good buddy of mine, John Jay, first base coach of the Miami Marlins. And I said, what a perfect fit for you. Hometown with the boys. How far is your place from the yard? He goes, it's amazing. And what are the chances Skip gets the job? It's crazy. Obviously, they know each other from the Cardinals. He said it's around 15 minutes from his house. He said, incredible, good for you. I'm excited to try it out. We're going to surprise people this year. I can't wait. I think this coaching staff can use. And then I said, so much pitching, a trade here and there. That's going to be a tough division, though. And he says it is, but I think our coaching staff can use that to our advantage, getting the guys to buy in. It's crazy. The majority of our staff played in the show, and we have real feel. Spot the lie in that conversation.
0.
Everything's come to fruition. I mean, Chris Rose mentioned it the other day. We haven't talked about Skip Schumacher as manager of the year. We haven't really talked about what they've been able to do there. And you got to mention Kim Ng in there too, making the right moves at the deadline and, getting that pitching going. And really they've been without Sandy, like kind of like being himself all year too, which is another shocking thing. But this is another crazy weekend for the last few spots in the NL wildcard, man. I'm excited.
Yes. The Snakes. So teased it a little bit before. Their playoff percentage is 97.8. They need to win a game or any of the other teams lose a game. They're golden. So kudos to them. I knock on all sorts of wood, and I know Snakes fans are because they are hosting Houston. But like I said, Gallen, Kelly starting off that series. Man, those are going to be some interesting baseball games, and a little final snaps to them, man. I know you just said it. Snakes and Marlins, not a lot of people had them. I didn't. I thought this was going to be a big growth year, and we were going to be excited for next year's Snakes. And I thought when you started reading a text message, I thought it was going to be from Evan Longoria at first because he, we almost
probably do have one from him as well because he said the same thing, man. He's like, these guys, there's something going on here.
We almost called bullshit on him. We're like, I don't know, dude. Seems like you kind of just want to live near your home and all that.
We did call bullshit on him.
And incredible stuff for them. The Cubbies.
Let's give snaps to Torey Lovello and Skip Schumacher.
Are those the two teams that like sneaky love us the most?
Do the Marlins even love us? I don't know.
John Jay loves you. Pipe loves
Snakes love you. That's for sure.
Pipe loves me. He's Snakes to Marlins.
So basically, what's going on this weekend is, and this is crazy. You talk about the rain. My gosh, guys, guess what? It's raining in New York. Everybody, everyone sends thoughts and prayers. It's raining there. But it has been raining for a while, and apparently the grounds crew of the New York Mets didn't put the tarp on in time. I don't think they were playing while the rain first started, and they just didn't put the tarp on. So when they got the tarp on, the water underneath was there. It didn't drain very well because apparently there's no drains in New York.
Nope.
So the field has become a mess, and it became unplayable after playing through some more rain. And on their last game of that series, Mets-Marlins, which, every single game means a lot right now. Marlins take the lead. I believe it was Jazz Chisholm ties the game up with a double off the wall. Gurriel comes up and puts him ahead, brings Chisholm in to score the go-ahead run, and then all of a sudden, boom, we get freaking postponed. And now the game's suspended, going to be played on Monday as the Marlins are up 2-1, but it's still not a complete game yet, if necessary. So right now, I believe what it is, well, if Miami and Chicago play the exact same through this weekend, then they don't need to go make it up. But if Miami takes, let's say they take 2 out of 3 and Chicago sweeps this weekend, then Miami will have to travel to New York after playing the Pirates in Pittsburgh to finish the top half of the ninth and then get 3 outs. And if they do that and they win that, then they'll go into the playoffs because they hold the tiebreaker. It's nutty, bro. It's a nutty situation going on right now. I hope that we do get that, where they have to travel back to New York and get those last 3 outs because, like you said, Jake, it's a semblance of a 163. We're going to get a half an inning of a 163, and I can't wait for that.
I mean, imagine that, because I think it's currently scheduled for 1:10 p.m. On that Monday. So, yeah, Monday, fire it up for 4 outs up in City where the Mets, their season's very much over. I hope we don't get there, because as silly as that would be, it would
I want it. What do you mean you don't want it?
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. that if you're a Marlins...
Can you imagine being... I mean, they're going to have someone close that game out with their entire season on the line.
God.
That's what you want.
And no,
that's what you want in ball.
If we do get there, okay, so I'm starting to talk myself into it because the way you just phrased that, Trev, in theory, couldn't you throw anyone?
Anybody.
Like you know, if
anybody.
If you think
bullpen day, you're right.
You think Luzardo's the best guy to get those last 3 outs? Fire him up. Like you can. I kind of like that side of it. And, you know, I see JT Shaq in that bullpen ready to go. Okay, so Marlins, they got to handle some business with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's throwing Quinn Priester, Andre Jackson, as Valdo Beto. So, like, no Keller. The Pirates are clearly, they're moving on to next year. Let's see what that series looks like. Proud team, proud city, though. Never rule out Pittsburgh. The Cubbies are at Milwaukee, and now Milwaukee's clinched. So I actually have to walk back some stuff because I thought they were going to be lining up. You know, I think if Burns starts today, I think he's lined up for the wild card, et cetera, et cetera. It says they're throwing Colin Rea, Jansen Junk, and Adrian Hauser. So the clinched Brewers may not be, I want to say, quote-unquote, emptying the tank, but with how teams use bullpen and stuff and with the gap between the wild card game, like, you know, outside of Sunday's game, you're still going to see very real Brewers pitching and you're going to get real at-bats. Like these guys, you know, baseball players hate sitting and not playing, that they're going to compete. It's to what level, and
that's
I don't know.
A different level of focus, a different level of everything. Obviously, you want to keep your body ready to go for the playoffs and finish strong because your numbers still matter. In the end, you still got to make some money, and how much money you make depends on your numbers. So, like, yeah, you're not going to give away at bats, but the intensity is not going to be the same between the Brewers and the Cubs. Maybe you get a guy in the Brewers with a chip on his shoulder saying, like, F these kids, you know, and like let's ruin their dreams. Like, there's that aspect of it, obviously, because it's interdivision. You can feel that too, but there's not going to be the same level of effort, which is tough. But there's nothing you can really do about that once we get down to this part of the season and a team is clinched. I mean, we're talking about Atlanta is going to be hosting fake simulated games with, I guess I don't need to say fake and simulated. Those are the same thing, I think.
Yeah.
With fans.
Right.
It's a nutty time.
Hey, Cincy, I know you're playing 3 versus St. Louis. You're 1.5 back. If you want to be some chaos, win all 3, and maybe we'll see you guys towards the finish line. They're at 7%, or excuse me, 7.9. So I'll call that 8% chance of making the dance. And
what's the Marlins chance? They have to be super high.
Marlins are at 68.7.
Wow.
68.7.
Okay.
It's
that would just, oh my gosh, imagine that.
If they have to play baseball Monday at Citi Field, I just don't know. I mean, Mets players, did they have flights out for Monday? Like, what are the rules? Like, if the Mets season was going to end on Sunday, like, do you think there were final team meetings Monday and then you were clear to leave, or it's like deuces?
No, they've been having those meetings already, bro. They've been out. I mean, you can, it depends. It depends what you want to do. 100% you could be out on Monday, especially if you've been out of the race, that you're starting to pack up. And that's the saddest thing, dude. The last week or so, and you're seeing guys like put stuff away in these big brown boxes to be shipped home, and you're like, we still got a week in the season left. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's tough.
It's real tough. It's real tough. God, a couple teams are going to be feeling it. A couple teams are going to be feeling it, and a couple teams are going to feel some sort of hope that they haven't felt in a long time. 3-game wild card to move on to a next step of the playoffs. That hasn't even existed for some of these teams.
Hey, what was your preseason World Series?
I don't know. Is there a way to find it? In my head,
Somebody's got that. We had it. We did a social clip on it, but we also, I'm pretty sure, have some sort of
I recall you
graphic or sheet.
You at least had the Braves in there.
I'd like to think I was on the Braves.
I want to say you had Braves Houston. Is that true?
Potentially.
Mine was Phillies beating the Yankees, so I'm out on that one. I still like the Phillies a lot.
Hey,
but
when the Phils start to tango, they can go with anyone. Actually, let's talk to Bryce a little bit, because that was an electric moment from yesterday. And as you guys know, Talkin' Baseball and essentially Jake Storielli is brought to you by Blue Moon. The playoff lights are coming.
I am here, by the way, the home of Blue Moon.
Wow, that's true.
Okay.
We might have to get a nice pick out of you or something. Blue Moon Belgian White, the Belgian-style wheat ale. It's beer that's made brighter. Here's some words for you. Bold, beautiful, bright. Blue Moon is iconic as America's pastime. I'll tell you what. I had a couple of the Blue Moon Lights last night. That's been my Thursday night talk about the Yanks have a Blue Moon to get through it. The Valencia Orange Peel, you know that's a difference maker. And especially if you live in somewhere that's getting flooded right now, they deliver Blue Moon. Get.bluemoonbeer.com/baseball to find Blue Moon delivery options. Get.bluemoonbeer.com/baseball. Click the link in the description. That's nice for that. You know, sometimes the playoff times are a little funky. So maybe you're like lining up to see your team play and you're like, oh, I think my team's playing at 8. And then you look up and it's the 7:37 game. And it's like, okay, you got to get the chair ready, get that Blue Moon delivered. Boom. How about Bryce, dude?
How about him?
Well, King Angel Hernandez gets in the mix.
Yep.
With just
this was a breakdown on a tee for all.
Yes, this
Jimmy.
was if we told AI, hey, give us a breakdown, and they go, okay,
Breakdown from something that happened.
Angel Hernandez at third. Yes. Harper's up. It's a check swing. It's perfect.
Powder Blues.
Huh.
I think they were wearing the Powder Blues, weren't they?
I have to double check. I don't know.
2 identical check swings. One earlier in the bat is a no swing. The second one is a swing. And Bryce Harper loses his mind. Similar, you know what? I got to give a shout out to Bryce, because he didn't turn around like Hector did. He just kept going at Angel. Walked all the way past the third baseman, past third base, and got in his face, dude.
You know,
he's been thrown out more than anybody, I think, since his debut. I believe he has 14 career ejections, if I saw that correctly on some Sports Center show last night. I don't know if it was Sports Center, but I saw 14 career ejections. Beavers, can you look that up?
That's a lot. It's a lot.
That's a lot, dude. Most guys have like 2 or 3 max.
I hate Angel Hernandez. I do. Him just standing there, almost excited when Bryce is marching towards him. Like, that's what he likes.
I don't think he's excited. I think you're.
Yes,
I think
dude.
people misread it. I don't think he wants that. Is he bad at his job? Yes. There's no doubt about it. But he's got job security.
He wants
so why
the
would he
spotlight.
quit? He's just bad at it. I don't think he wants the
wants
confrontation.
it.
I don't.
He wants it. He wants it. Bryce,
Do you think he rung up Bryce on purpose there to get the confrontation? I don't think so, dude. I think he's just bad at his job. It's not his fault that there's no repercussions for being bad at his job. That's just the way it is.
I think there was a little part of him that was about it.
I'm defending Angel Hernandez. How about that?
Bryce is marching towards him, and he takes kind of like a power stance, and he's like, just like ready for him to come. Like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm on TV.
I think you're projecting a little bit right there. I think if you were in that position, you and Bryce tussling,
I've got another cold take. This is kind of off the board. Do you see, you're a sports guy, Travis Hunter, the stud from Colorado that got knocked out by the Colorado State kid and people were doing dirty and all that? They just did a video. He invited the kid from Colorado State. They went bowling. And, like, part of me loves that, and part of me is like, wow. Like, sports have changed so much. Like,
what do you want him to do?
No, like, in a way, it's beautiful, right? Like, in a way, as a society, we've evolved, but there's also a part of old sports that used to be like, I don't know, you'd want those guys to, like, meet up and fight somewhere. And I don't know, it's, like, good and just new.
I'm out on that. You know, what's also changed in the modern era is the internet. This guy was getting death threats and all sorts of stuff. So I think, you know, Travis Hunter did a really nice thing, basically putting his arm around the guy and saying, like, hey, guys, like, if we're good, then that means you guys should be good. Collective internet, who's all over him.
Let's go.
I liked it. I think it's the right thing to do.
Pop culture show.
The internet is crazy, dude. People, doesn't matter what opinion gets posted. If I get put on Talking Baseball Social or, you know, Baseball Today or whatever, someone's always going to be mad at me, no matter what, dude. No matter what. And I suck and this and that. And it's like, all right, guys, like, people almost. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry. People almost, like, they don't think of, like, you and I and Bieber's here. We're just, like, on the screen, whatever. We're not real people.
No.
And that's not for everybody. I'm not saying everybody treats us like that, but for, honestly, a lot of people, we're just those guys on the internet. And they can say whatever they want to us at any given moment and just kind of, like, get it off their chest. So that's how I, like, compartmentalize it. If I'm getting just roasted on the internet, I'm like, well, they're not really roasting me, the person. They're roasting, like, that guy that's on their screen who, like, is saying something that they don't like. Because nobody would ever talk to somebody like that face to face. It just doesn't happen. That's just not how society works.
Right.
So that's how I try to deal with it. But sometimes it's hard to do that, man.
Weird world. Trevor, what else do you got, man? I mean, we can tell you some standouts. We could do some fuego. We could give an award or what else? I guess baseball-wise, pure baseball.
I think there's a few things, we need to get through.
Okay.
Tito, I think, deserves a mention on this show. He had his last game in Cleveland. His last managerial stint is this weekend. He's going to be done after this. I don't know. I played against Tito a lot, Red Sox into Cleveland. And one thing that I always noticed about him was just how even-keeled he was and really how happy he was on a day in and day out basis. It's not like he's going around like chipper, like smiling and being like really outwardly, happy. But whenever you talk to him, he was in a good mood and he just loved the game of baseball. And he was such a good people person, even to guys on the opposing teams. Like, you talk to him at batting practice and he'd send you a compliment, dude. And you just don't get that from everyone. He was really aware of that. And I think he became aware of kind of like the influence that he would have or the importance that his words carried, because he's become, he's a Hall of Fame manager. He's become like a figure in baseball that's almost, he's beloved and everybody respects him. And I think he realized that and kind of began to give out just more and more respect and praise to, people he came across because he knew it meant something. And honestly, that to me says a lot about his character. He's just a good dude who loves baseball and loves to fire people up. Like he's such a good motivator, dude. I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss seeing him out on the field for sure, because he's one of the good guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we have a lot of young listeners. We do a lot of YouTube and podcast stuff. There's still, I made some jokes before the episode. I hopped in an Uber today, talked some sports with a guy, and he's a guy that's not going to seek out YouTube and podcasts. You have to understand, 2004, I'm a young Yankees fan. I am 13, 14 years old. I fight with my buddies at the lunch table, Yankees, Red Sox, every day. They get this manager, Terry Tito Francona. I'm like, I don't know. Screw you guys. Screw the Red Sox. 04 championship. 07 championship. And anytime you got a press conference, like, I never had an ounce of hate for Terry Francona. Even Petey Pedroia, like, a short king, a guy that I should have pictures on my wall if he was on any other team. There was times I hated Pedroia. Like, are you kidding me? This fucking guy? Tito, for whatever reason, he embodies baseball, man. It's like, It's fun-loving, it's competitive, and even seeing that crowd go nuts. And, like, Jose Ramirez, this 5'8" all-world player from the DR, and how much he loves this guy. And even in that one screenshot, it was like Jose Ramirez, it's Miles Straw, it's people from all over the world, because that's what this game is. And Tito's just like, one like beloved baseball figures is all time.
Yeah. Altuve, Venezuelan. Just want to make sure we do some house cleaning right there.
Okay. Not talking about Altuve, so that's the good news.
Didn't you say Altuve?
Jose Ramirez, 5'8".
You said Jose Ramirez.
Yep, because he's on Tito Francona's team. So
good call.
Altuve,
I just had a little brain lapse there.
Let's go through all the short athletes.
Jose's that are 5'8". Go.
And you know what, Trev? I think there's two other players I want to taste real quick, and maybe it's a form of awards, maybe it's not, but it's brought to you by Manscaped. PSA, fellas, you already know Manscaped, #1 in downstairs care. Kind of rhymes, made that up. They've decided, hey, we've got the skill set. Let's bring it up Norte, and they have created their brand new Handyman. An electric face shaver for quick, convenient way to achieve a clean-shaven look. Whether you're looking to sharpen your neckline or give your face that smooth finish, the Handyman has you covered. Get 20% off and free shipping with code TALKIN at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use code TALKIN. Hit the refresh button with Manscaped. Link in the description. It's Manscaped. They can take care of hair. That's what I'd say.
I just cleaned up everything with my I have my Manscaped for my face. I have my Manscaped for my balls and undercarriage. Everything. All dialed in right now.
I get under there. You got to. That's a hair spot.
That's where I was last night.
Oh, boy. Trev, the two players that jump to mind. One, I've heard you talk about as well as anybody about, and I don't compliment you unless I have to. Miguel Cabrera. He gives us maybe one more opposite field home run swing, and people were also saying, like, wow, it might be a fun Hall of Fame in 5 years. It might be Miggy Cabs and Tito. Hey, can we take the 5 years off for managers? Like, Tito's... I don't know if we need to...
Why? What's 5 years?
What is that? What is that? It's a great point.
Miguel Cabrera. We're going to wait.
Let's wait 5.
What's the point?
Let's wait 5. And I do think... And Braves fans wanted to hear us a little more. And, hey, Braves fans get rowdy because we're about to talk about them a lot in October. Ronald Acuna, it just deserves to be said more. There's a lot of internet hubbub about it. And, 70 this year. Is that really so? Doesn't fucking matter.
Shut up. Who says that? I hate that person if you're saying that.
40, 70. So, I wanted to tee you up because, I've heard you talk about Miguel Cabrera so beautifully before. So this is our little Venezuelan finale for Miggy Cabs and what Ronald Acuna Jr. has done this year.
I don't know what else there is to say about Miggy Cabs that I haven't already said on this show. Another guy that was open and willing to help other players around the league, even guys that weren't on his team. Let's start just on his team. If you played with Miggy Cabs, from 2010 to 2017, 18 with the Tigers, like, you became an unbelievable hitter under his tutelage. I mean, just think about the guys that he's worked with and who he's helped change their careers. Nick Castellanos, one of them right there, who's turned into, one of the better hitters in the league because, well, he was around Miggy Cabs. What about JD Martinez? Around Miggy Cabs, learning from him, him and it's just, you'd get around the cage and he would talk to you about hitting. One of the greatest right-handed hitters we've ever seen in this game would sit around and just talk hitting with the opposing team. With, obviously with guys on his team sitting in the cage with them doing it, but to be able to do that with the opposing team as well, I thought was nuts. And I've mentioned it before and I'll say it again because I think it is crazy that it just doesn't happen. There's a couple guys. Miggy Cabs and Shohei Ohtani are the only guys that I know. Maybe a little Giancarlo Stanton here and there, where guys would make it a point to go out and watch him hit batting practice. Now, Shohei doesn't hit batting practice a lot, so when he does, I understand that you'd want to go watch him do it. Miggy Cabs hit batting practice every single day on the field, and you would make it a point to get your ass out there and watch it. And it wasn't just the young guys. It was everybody. We'll just go watch him hit BP. That's how impressive it was. You would learn so much just by watching what he did. He wasn't trying to hit home runs all over the place. He was spraying balls. And then in the last round, he would just go right field, right center, center field, left center. He would do around the world with homers, and he wouldn't even have to have like an extra swing. It was just so impressive. The bat control, the power, the consistency of his swing, the adjustments he would make when he needed to, when his body was feeling off. If you watched him hit, he'd have a leg kick, then he wouldn't have a leg kick. He'd just go up on his toe like Albert Pujols did. Everything was calculated. It was perfect. When you watched his swing, it was the swing you were trying to get, the emotions you were trying to make. Miggy just did them, naturally, and he worked at it. Shout out Miggy, dude. I don't know. There's nothing more I can say. The guy was class act, and watching him was a fucking privilege, man.
Yeah, as someone who, whether it was fantasy baseball or now looking at Baseball Reference and now getting to talk about baseball, and now that I'm getting older and I actually am starting to feel what it's like to have a 34-year-old body in a couple weeks. Wink, wink. Miguel Cabrera for 13 seasons, which I wanna hit on that quick. Because, Trev, every time a player hits 10 years, that's a massive accomplishment. That's something Jimmy always brings up. Since we've gotten closer to the game, we've realized how much that means to guys. There's so few that makes it to that 10-year mark. I was happy the other day. Dallas Keuchel saw
him last night.
Coming out of the Twins' pen, fighting for the end of his career. A guy that's won Cy Youngs, multiple Gold Gloves, All-Star games. He just hit that 10-year mark. That, wow, dude. That guy's an elite ball player. And he just hit 10 years. So, moving from that, Miguel Cabrera for 13 years averaged 155 games a season. He hit 323, 402, a 566 slugging for a 968 OPS. For 13 years. That's what he rolled out and did. So there's some of you who, I'll be honest, since 2017, he hasn't really been the same cat because Father Time catches up with literally everyone. So if you have that Miguel Cabrera in your head, know that there's a Miguel Cabrera. Is there anyone that's doing 323?
He won the Triple Crown, bro.
Back-to-back MVPs. I was going to give a comparison, who's putting up the 323, 402, 566 slugging. Maybe Acuna without the speed. That's kind of what he did for 13 years.
I'm looking at his stat page now, and I have one question.
Sure.
First of all, we're on Miguel Cabrera OPS 900 watch because he's currently right now at 900 on the dot for his career. Do you just sit him out the last 3 games? We don't want to see that thing get in the 8s, Miggy. You're not an 8 guy.
You need the nerds to crunch the numbers there. And
let's fudge some stuff.
How far can we push that?
Another thing I saw that was interesting, I've never seen this. Maybe I haven't looked hard enough. 2003's rookie year, he plays 87 games. He gets MVP 27? Okay.
Yeah, that's one of those rider
So, I
throws
mean,
a vote
I
out,
love
yeah.
it because that means he got MVP votes from 2003 all the way through 2016. Every single year, he got an MVP vote. Which, dude, if I got one MVP vote, I would jump for freaking joy, even if it was MVP 27. That's really incredible. And I'm looking at that right now. I wonder how many players have gotten MVP votes in 13 or more seasons in a row. I'm sure there are some, but not many.
If we're Cleveland, let's don't be shy to throw a couple fastballs
Right.
down Maine.
Just one more homer and then he's golden.
Man. And yeah, I guess anything else to add about Ronnie? I know it sounds ridiculous to say we're adding about it, but 40-70.
40-70 is nuts. You just knew, in the game when he did it, and I guess, I don't know, have we talked about that whole scenario I keep saying that fucking word. I feel like every episode there's a word I say too many times, and today it's that word. Have we talked about the montage during the game on this show yet?
I don't
or did
think
we
so.
miss that?
I don't think so.
In that game, I guess it's in any game. You just know he's going to steal.
Yeah.
Everybody in the whole park knows he's going to steal, and he just goes and swipes it back. It's so easy for him. What do you think about the montage and all that? What's your stance on? I gave mine.
I don't know. I don't have a hard take on it. You're watching baseball history, so that deserves to be enjoyed. But also, if you're the opposing broadcast, I don't know, you should be hype about it. Maybe you should be.
It was planned the entire time. Unfortunate timing for it to happen.
Yeah.
And I totally understand the Cubs side of it, but I do lean Braves, and I'm like, it's not the Braves' fault that you're in a do or die situation right now. Or maybe it is.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. All right, T-Pain.
We're here, baby. We are here.
We're actually here. Some games.
Go. Who gets left out in the AL, and then we're done.
Who gets left out in the American League? If I had to bet today, and I hate to say this, but I would bet Seattle.
Is it Snakes and Marlins in the NL? Are you leaving things as is right now? I think I am. I think I'm leaving it.
Yeah.
I would kind of love to see Houston jump Toronto.
Toronto, I guess if I had to pick an area of chaos, I'd say Toronto and Houston. I don't know whether the Rays put Toronto in the torture chamber, because I've seen them do that in games that do not matter to them. They did it to the Yankees. They're still gonna raise, they're still gonna pitch a ton.
They're gonna do their thing.
They're still gonna play their matchups. The Rays can raise you. In Houston, I don't know. In this bizarre Houston year, where it's never felt fully game on, Gallen and Kelly could punch them in the mouth. I wouldn't be surprised at all, but actually wrapping my brain around what Seattle has to do to Texas while needing that extra help.
Do you think J.P. Crawford sparked it, though, last night? That is the type of situation that happens, and then they just go on this run and they sweep the whole thing. Holy, they're 2-8.
And then they're red hot into the playoffs.
I want Seattle to know I'm rooting for them, because tonight's game is massive. Brian Wu versus Evaldi. If you take down Nate and the Rangers tonight, you have Castillo and Kirby lined up.
Let's go.
Ladies and germs, enjoy the weekend. Watch some baseball, because a couple of these games are playoff baseball, and then it's the real deal. Wild card, baby.
Chick sucks.
Gonna see Kelsey at the park today.
Love that.
Awards.
New York, come to Billy's.
See some people at Billy's this weekend. We're live streaming games.
Forgotten
Live
Rotten,
streams are
new
next
teammate.
week.
What?
Gotten rotten rumors.
Whoa.